All right. So, good evening, peace and blessings to the family, and welcome to another episode of Astoria Story, brought to you by the Seven Spheres of Money in Duransburg International. My name is Nick Westbrooks. Now I'm your co-host, and as always, I'm joined by, the queen, the the head lady in charge, Miss Astoria Stubbs, aka Miss Story. What's going
Yeah,
on, Astoria? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Long day, but long week, I should say. It's a long week already, and it's only Wednesday. But yeah, I feel good. I feel great. How are you this evening or today?
Oh man, long day as well. I've definitely been exhausted this week. Actually, the past couple weeks, man. But today was definitely a long day for sure. I feel you on that. But we're getting through it. So that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
part of that drag that you've been feeling is probably from the Mars retrograde. Mars is full of energy and has you bouncing around, and when it goes retrograde at the same time that Mercury is retrograde, it just make you feel tired and like draggy. So I understand.
Hmm.
This be
Hmm.
all going through the same thing.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that definitely explains a lot. Besides that, all the clouds we've been having outside, and I definitely know that cloudy weather, cloudy, rainy weather, that definitely drains me. I appreciate it, but when you have things to do and work to do, it's kind of inconvenient because it makes me feel so lazy and sleepy. But but yeah, that's something else we work through because we gotta do what we gotta do pretty much.
Pretty much.
So yeah, man. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and jump into the show. As we always do, recapping Money Mondays and then diving into the main event, the main topic. So Astoria, why don't you go ahead and talk to the people about this week's episode of Money Mondays on your
So
Instagram Live.
yeah, so this week's Money Mondays was me by myself. I didn't have a guest on purpose. Everything I do is purposeful. So what I talked about was really recapping what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. Actually putting what we've been saying into action and showing how we're putting it into action. So I talked about the differences in savings plans, your savings account versus your emergency fund versus your travel fund, and how I do the distinction between those. And also really just talking about, getting ready to prepare for the holidays, making a plan, understanding your budget, what you're working with right now, what your expenses is, so that you can begin to move forward. This is the time where people should be planning for 2021. So you should have already, whatever you've got going on. Most businesses are getting ready to end out their year, for December. They've already closed out some things and they are planning um, next year. So that's the same thing we should be doing. So that's what we capped. And it's so funny that the same day that happened, I happened to get a flat tire that Sunday, and it was important that I talked about emergency fund because had I not had emergency fund, luckily it was a dealership's fault, so I didn't have to pay for it. Right, all the blessings I received. But had that been, any regular situation where, I had a flat tire, if I didn't have an emergency fund or at least something in my savings, how was I going to be able to take care of that? And I would have been stressing and kind of burned out. So it kind of just made sense. And then the next day, I go to the store and I find this, and it's a jar that says travel fund on it. And I was like, oh, that's super cute. So yeah, now I got a jar for my travel fund. And that was Money Mondays.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. So, get your affairs in order, so you can be prepared to wrap up quarter four and go into 2021 with the momentum and the energy to hit the ground running. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that as we get closer to the end of the year and the beginning of the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight we're going to continue on with your holistic health is wealth series. And last week we discussed a little more about spiritual health, and Astoria, she'll be returning to that topic, talking a little bit more about spiritual health, spiritual healing. My apologies, spiritual healing. We talked about healing last week.
Yeah.
We talked about healing again tonight. Of course, that's connected to your health, but the specific topic was healing. I meant to say healing. Yeah, so Astoria, she wants to talk about spiritual healing, especially as it relates to the full moon that's coming up. So Astoria, what can we expect with this full moon, and how does it relate to spiritual healing?
Yeah. So really not just spiritual healing, but more of your spirituality. I'll put it that way. And how that's a part of your holistic health. So it is a full moon. It is our second full moon, which is typically called a blue full moon when there's 2 in 1 month. So the first one was in Aries at the first of the month, and this one will be in Taurus. And so what is so significant about, honestly, this full moon, the fact that it's Halloween or Hallows Eve or Dias de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, whichever one you want to call it, whichever you celebrate, or however you see that. October is already a month where the veil is said to be very thin between life, people on the other side, spirits, right, our ancestors, and the dimension that we live in right now. And so normally it's a time where you can commune with your ancestors or anything like that. So if you ever seen the movie Coco, and shameless plug for Disney, right? But if you ever seen the movie Coco, that's what we're talking about. Typically, people always associate it with ghosts and goblins and things like that. But in actuality, this is something that, really went back ancestrally to Aztecs. So it's a lot of Central America, South America influence. But there's also some African heritage to it, some African spirituality to it that we don't necessarily talk about as much. We kind of gotten our astrology and what we talk about from the Dogon tribe, which is actually in Africa. That's where they started. They studied the stars and the planets and things like that. And that's kind of where you get both sets of Western and Eastern kind of astrology kind of together. So for the full moon, the veil will be extra thin, but extra powerful at the same time. It's going to be a lot of good energy happening. And so I would encourage anyone that has spiritual ancestors that they want to connect with. I've been connecting with mine all month, really preparing for the day. Well, I would say 3 days. It's the 31st through the 2nd is normally when you want to do your rituals, right? But I think that it's really important for you to connect with them because you can learn so much about your past and where you're going by listening to what they have to say. Like, it's almost like when you were younger and you listen to your grandparents or your great uncles, they'll tell you stories, or your cousins tell you stories about, how life was and, what they're have went through. And then you're learning. That same thing can happen when you commune with your ancestors. So when we talk about meditation and actually listening, so we good for praying, right? But we don't listen after the prayer. We just pray. We just pray, Lord, please, right? But we don't listen. So this is a good time where you can actually sit and meditate and listen. And those messages normally come to you pretty easily because the veil is so thin. So it's gonna be a good full moon. I'm so excited for the full moon. Like, super excited. It's gonna be the best day of the year for me.
All right. Yeah. Definitely time for, sounds like, some spiritual transformation and some spiritual cleansing going on this during this time, of the full moon. Now, you just mentioned a few minutes ago before we even started discussing this topic that Mars and Mercury are both in retrograde. So does that have any impact or effect on the full moon or on people?
So, not necessarily on the full moon. So you have a lot of positive things happening at one time. I know we like to focus on retrogrades a lot of times because we think about like I don't want to say negative, but the bad things that can happen, technology messing up, things like that, right? But a lot of times there's positive trines, like I think it's Uranus. Yeah, there's a planetary influence from Uranus at the same time. And so Uranus is normally associated with going to your higher dimensions, your higher self, your oversoul, those type of things. So when we think about the higher part of the pool, you're going to have a lot of more positive and good vibrations coming towards you. Now, if you focus on the negative, right, you can be drawn down to those things. Mars is just a planet that moves. Mars and Mercury are planets that move pretty fast, right? So when they go into retrograde, especially Mars being a big planet, it's a big red planet, right? It's fiery, it's full of action. It's like, when you think about Mars. So think about Mars slowing down, all that fiery action slowing down. So it has a good pull on you feeling like you thought you was going through something, and then you like, I don't think I want to do that. I'm tired, right? And so when you think about that happening, which is actually going to go back into, going to going forward. I think it's like November 12th or 13th, so in a few weeks. So you'll start getting, it's actually starting to go. So you'll start to get the positive pull from it. This is like the good part. In the retrograde for Mercury, we still have a couple more weeks. But Mercury retrograde is tricky. It's one of those things where you tend not to try to make too many decisions. If there's something already moving forward, you go with it. Technology acts funny. Simple things that you don't think about, like stuff that we take for granted are the things that Mercury tugs and pulls at to make things happen. And which is why we call it retrograde. So it's like, I knew I wasn't supposed to do that, but then I did it anyway. And then, not that something bad happened, but it's like, I knew I shouldn't have did that. So that's the kind of aspects that'll happen.
Okay. All right. And you did mention rituals, full moon rituals. So why don't you give us some examples of what someone might do for this full moon ritual that's coming up?
So I am a person that does full moon and new moon rituals. And so what I tell people all the time is your ritual is your ritual. It is what feels good to you. It's what resonates with your soul and your spirit that you want to do. For me, so full moon is completion, right? So new moon is the beginning, full moon is completion. So you don't have to only do rituals around that time. You can do it in waxing moons, all crescent moons, all that times. They all have different types of meanings, but majority of, I'm going to say practitioners, because that's the best way I could explain it, do it a lot around full and new moons because of how strong the energies are. So an example would be if something is coming into completion for you. So something you manifested back for the new moon, right? You give lots of thanks, right? And then you're going to maybe give reverence to whoever whoever your deity or your God is that you talk to, your ancestors. A simple ritual that I do is I like to, especially for when I'm starting, I'll take a ritual bath. And so that means putting incense, lighting some incense, making sure I clear the space, lighting candles, putting aromatherapy in there, lavender, flowers, lots of stuff that makes you feel good, right? And you don't have to take a bath, right? But you can do it in the shower as well. But it's a ritual. So you're going to pour good energy into that bath, like all the good stuff that you want, right? And so when you take that bath, you're cleansing yourself of all the negativity, of anything that you don't want on yourself, right? You are around you, you cleanse yourself of that. So that's one way. Another one is for me for this Halloween season, I made an altar for my ancestors. And so they each have a specific candle. And I'm pouring their energy into those candles. Have pictures of them, and I give them coffee. My family is a family of coffee drinkers. So cup of coffee. I got my grandmother a crossword puzzle. I have my whiskey for my uncles and my grandfather. Just different things like that. So like I am, for me, this is giving thanks for them, for their guidance, for them watching over me, and then praying that they have abundant life where they are. Like whatever abundance they didn't get to have here, that they have that peace where they are now in that abundance. So that's an example of a ritual. So just you putting the intent into what you're doing, and manifesting that and really focusing on it. I also sometimes do tarot readings. It just depends on how I'm feeling. And most definitely, if you don't do anything else, if you're a person that loves crystals, charge your crystals in the full moon. Beyonce told you to charge your crystals in the full moon. She just not telling you to do that, but we've been doing that before the song came out. But charge your crystals in the full moon. Set your intentions for your crystals, are for your tools that you use, because they are just extensions of what you already have.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So after performing these these rituals, of your choice, whatever resonates with you, I guess what can folks expect? Like what type of result can they expect from performing these full moon rituals?
So depending on what your intent was that you put into it, if you are asking to receive something, then you wait for it to be received. Like I have ancestor money, so I burn ancestor money to give to them or to put my petitions on. And so the results you get are what you put into it. I tell people all the time, if you don't believe it and you don't feel it, then you can't look for something, right? You have to know that if you don't feel like you should do a ritual, then don't do it, right? Like if it don't feel good to you, don't do it. It's okay. But do what feels right to you. So your ritual may be, and when I say ritual, it's something that you do repetitively, right? It's something that you intentionally, set intent to do. Like a ritual is going to church every Sunday. That is a ritual. You go to church every Sunday. That's something that you do consistently, right? So your ritual could just be you journaling, right? Journaling out your thoughts, your feelings, to get that out, which could lead to healing and could lead to you receiving messages, right? I read something earlier today that talked about people being like clairvoyant, all that, all them different clairs and telekinesis, all that stuff, right? So your gifts are your gifts. You all have a gift or multiple gifts. You just choose to suppress them or you choose not to pay attention to them. And once you start paying attention to them, then you receive your benefits differently, right? So it could be, a perfect example is if you're manifesting money, right? So if you're manifesting money and you're specific about what you ask for, not just, oh, I want some money, but you're specific and clear about what you ask for, you typically receive it. You manifest whatever it is that you set out to have. So I manifest all the time that I want an extra whatever certain amount of money. And then customers call and clients call and say, I need appointments. And I'm like, it's not time for you to be calling me. But that's the manifestation of what I'm putting into the atmosphere coming back to me. So you can expect what you put in.
Precisely. Okay. And last week when we were talking about, your holistic health is wealth, and we were talking about healing, you specifically focused on healing trauma. So like you said, you can set your intentions on just about anything you want. So just connecting this conversation to what we were talking about last week, what might a full moon ritual look like if someone were intending on healing trauma?
So when you're healing trauma and getting rid of something, a really good ritual to do is visualize yourself cutting the cord from whatever that is. So if you're sitting in meditation and maybe I don't want to say you're getting rid of a person, but you're getting rid of an object of something that has tormented you, right? So you're going to visualize a cord between you and that person, right? Or you and that thing. You visualize the cord. And then you're going to visualize yourself cutting the cord. And you can do that as many times as you want to, right? Numbers that resonate for me are 7s and 11s. You guys already know this. So I may cut it 7 times, right? I may cut it 11 times, whatever that is. But that's me visualizing me letting that go, right? I'm done with it. I wash my hands. Boop, boop. Okay, it's over. And by doing that, you're visualizing it in your third eye, in your mind. So when it visually comes to pass, you're like, oh, I already let that go. So it starts in the mind first, right? So subconsciously, you have to tell your brain that you're getting rid of this. This is what I'm releasing, right? Now, visualizing, I see it, right? I can clearly see that I am getting rid of this, right? This is no longer serving me, right? Cut it, keep going. And a third piece that you could do is write out what that trauma is, right? Or whatever that is that you're releasing, and burn it. So now that's 3 ways, right, that you have literally released something. And however that feels good to you, right? So if it feels great for you to burn it, then burn it. Write it down 7 times and burn it. It's fine. But that's what I would call it a releasing ritual would look like for you when you can get rid of things.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Releasing ritual as the name for I would say the beginning of healing trauma, because like we spoke about last week, it is indeed an ongoing and continuous journey. But the full moon is if you haven't started healing that trauma yet, it sounds like the full moon and the full moon rituals are a great place to start. It's a great place to start that journey.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. So I'm just sitting here soaking it all in, because I don't really know much about the full about the full moons and the rituals and even the healing process when it comes to spirituality. So I'm just taking everything in and thinking of the most obvious questions that folks might be thinking about when it comes to this. So is there is there anything else when it comes to this full moon that we're on the eve of and spiritual healing? And
I would just say begin to awaken your mind. If this is the beginning of your spiritual journey, or your beginning of your spiritual awakening, I'll put it that way. You have heard people talk about chakras before. I know you guys know what your chakras are: your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, heart chakra, throat chakra, brow chakra, crown chakra. 7 main chakras. There's a bunch of them in your body, but you got 7 main ones. The full moon is a great time for you to visualize those chakras awakening and visualize your kundalini going up your spine to really amplify those things, decrease blockages in those chakras. So that's somewhere simple that you can start. You don't have to dive deep, you guys. A part of it is start where you need to start. Right? I've been on this journey for a long time, and it's not over. This is technically still my beginning at the same time, even though it's been years and years, right? So, but I'm always growing, I'm always learning, I'm always getting new inspiration, new things, new messages, new downloads, all the downloads, as I say, when my ancestors start talking to me. So start where you need to start at, right? And trust yourself. Trust your first mind, not your second mind. So when your brain tells you, do this, do it right then. Not wait 10 seconds to your subconscious mind talks you out of it. Go ahead and do it. Typically, when you work within your first mind and you work within your your gut, what your spirit says, your oversoul, right? Typically things tend to work out more according to the plan that you wanted them to work out from. So yeah, that, and be patient with yourself. Just because it's a great Hallows Eve, and I like Hallows Eve, doesn't mean that that's your holiday, right? I think I love it even more, and I just have to throw this out here, is because I was born on a Saturday, and Halloween is on Saturday this year. It's Saturn's day. Saturn is Capricorn's ruling planet, so it's just a lot of powerful stuff happening for me. And at the same time, the next day is 11-1, like 1-1-1. What? All the ones. So it's like I just get an extra boost of energy. You go from 1031, which already starts with a 1. It's a 1 and a 4, which equals a 5, though. But still, it's Saturday, Saturn's day. Very, very powerful energy for me, and then goes into a 1 day, like 1-1-1-1, like just so. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I can, we can be sure that on those days, you'll be taking that energy and using that energy to take charge of your life, and to be at the head of things,
Yep.
and to operate with force and dominance and power, because those are all of the attributes of the number one when we consider the meaning of the number one esoterically.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's a good place to put a period on this conversation. With trusting your intuition and being compassionate and patient, with yourself as you're going along this journey, because the journey's not going to be easy. You're definitely going to run into some challenges, but it'll be worth it. As a matter of fact, the journey, you may appreciate the journey more than the actual destination, if there is even a destination, since it's continuous.
Right. Is there a destination? Because if we think about it in science, right, energy never dies, right? It continues on. So although this physical body may leave, right, and get to a destination, the spirit is still energy, and it still moves on. Whether it lives in a butterfly, in the air, in a leaf, whatever that is, right? It literally, I don't know why this popped in my head, but for whatever reason, like the first thing that popped in my head was Pocahontas. And when she was singing, like if you watch the Disney movie Pocahontas, and when she starts singing, when the wind blows and you like literally feel like spirits are all around, you can see and feel the spirits around her, that's energy. Like that is literally like the definition of explaining the spiritual part of energy, of how it never dies and it continues on.
Right. Yeah. So So with that being said, it's probably important to consider what type of energy you're carrying and what type of energy you're leaving behind once your physical essence, leaves this earth too. That's something that just popped into my head. Because I mean, it's something that I just thought about, like once we leave here, does our energy, carry a I guess a specific type of energy, like a positive energy or a negative energy, depending on what we did while we were here in the physical being. It's something to think about.
In certain cultures, in certain religions, they do believe that if you did evil and bad things when you were here on this earth, that you would come back as a lower being. Like, they do believe that, like, you would come back as, something crazy that you wouldn't really want to typically be. Versus when you are a good spirit or you do good things like that, you could come back as something more beautiful, or you can continue to come back in human form. When people say that this child been here before, like we all have been here multiple times. multiple times, right? So whether you was physically this person you are right now, or someone else, hundreds and hundreds of times, it could have been infinity. So it just really depends. I think in different religions, it's just different things, and it's really what you believe. I'm gonna say this though. This is my last time coming back. Just like
yeah. Enough.
I'm going back to course. I'm done. This is it.
Yeah. You had enough, especially after this year.
I was already done before COVID.
Yeah, you was already done before, but
I'm really done. I'm over here like all the memes that be like, Earth is ghetto. Like, oh, Earth is. Send me back to my planet, okay? Wherever I'm from, I got to go.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But yeah, okay. So, Astoria, why don't you give everybody your information, your contacts, where they can reach you, how they can support you, and all that good stuff.
Yep. So I just happened to put it down here today. So you can find me at Miss Story. So MS_STORI on Instagram. My business page is The I Am Queen Hair. So THE IAMQUEEN Hair HAIR. You can Facebook, Instagram, pretty much like all of it is all the same, all consistent. Twitter, all that good stuff. YouTube channel, everything's kind of completely consistent. I have a unique name, Astoria, so it's easy to find me. I'm sure there's not another Astoria or QueenAstoria anywhere. Make sure that you tune in to Money Mondays on Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on IG Live and on YouTube. We're trying out this new dual action thing is happening. And then make sure on Fridays that you come back to the 7 Spheres of Money so you can see Nick's show, Nick's Knowledge and Notions, right?
That's right.
Yes. And then make sure you connect with us on all platforms, 7 Spheres of Money. Facebook, Twitter, all that, Instagram, all that, YouTube channel, all that. If you're looking for more financial education, I know we bring a lot of different series to the table, but if you're looking for more financial education, all you gotta do is go to the website. It's DJTheMoneyCoach.com.
Right.
You get that.
Okay, well, thank you.
I tried to catch it all for you.
yeah, thank you. You made my job way easier by catching it all for me. So that's everything for the 7 Spheres of Money. If you wanna follow my personal, my personal things that's going on, even though I don't post that much. But if you want to reach out to
he's gonna do better, y'all. He's gonna do better. Trust me. He's gonna do it.
No. Actually, I'm going to do worse. I'm work on posting less on my personal stuff so I can become even more mysterious to y'all. So, but yeah, Instagram, Mr. Westbrooks, Nick Westbrooks on Facebook, Nick Westbrooks on LinkedIn, Nick Westbrooks on Twitter. So that's how the story goes. So this is a story. These are her chronicles. That's what she's sticking to.
We talk all things. It may be astrology, it could be hair, it could be anything. But this is the other side of me that people don't know.
Yep, there you go. The other side. Yep.
Here's a teaser for next week.
Okay.
I feel like we should go ahead and break down some of them things that's inside of Lovecraft Country. The Book of Names.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it'll be right after election. So we ain't gonna know who our president is anyway. So why not break down some of that code with Lovecraft? We're gonna bring it still holistic health, but I think we should break down some of that code, because I know some of that symbolism that was in there. We kind of touched on it last week, but we didn't dive in.
Yeah. I definitely peeped a few things in there. Some things definitely I wasn't hip to, but I was definitely familiar with some of the references and symbolism. So yeah, that'll be a good conversation there. So yeah, that should give some people some time if they haven't watched the show to go ahead and binge it if you haven't been watching at all, or if you need to get caught up. So yeah, you can look out for that. Yeah, that's going to be a dope conversation for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So with that being said, thank you for joining us as always. Make sure you connect with us, subscribe and follow all of our platforms, social media, YouTube. And we wish you a pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money, peace of mind. Come join us
on the Beaches of the World Club.
You already know. All right, everybody. Take care.
Peace.